speaker, Dr.Muthuswamy Kumaran, onto the stage. First up, from the University of Florida, a professor who empowers non-profits and grassroots change makers. Please, a big round of applause for him. The stage is yours, sir.
Good afternoon, folks.
Good
How's
afternoon.
everyone this beautiful and sunny London afternoon?
Amazing.
That doesn't sound enthusiastic. Let's give it one more time. How's everyone this beautiful and sunny London afternoon?
Very good.
That's more like it. That's more like it. Now that we had a good spread of sandwiches and cupcakes, it's time for a nap. Right, go ahead and take a nap. We will wake you up in about 2 hours or so. Just kidding. Just kidding. Don't go snoozing on us. As mentioned, my name is Muthusami Kumaran, and I teach how to manage non-profit organizations at the University of Florida. Now, at the outset, let me repeat it again. I teach how to manage not-for-profit organizations, right? So, at the outset, it may sound I'm kind of an oddball for the audience of business people, for-profit business people, successful entrepreneurs, and so on and so forth. In fact, that's a question I asked Jay when he invited me 2 months ago. I said, Jay, this is IBN, right? Business network, successful business folks. What am I going to do? I am a non-profit management talking head. How am I going to gel with this group? He said, no, you should talk about corporate social responsibility and so on and so forth. But in so many ways, I think Mr. Vernon started very profoundly by saying, I think his first point was, the purpose of business is not just to make money, and also uplift the community. It could be the community where you grew up in, it could be a community where you are living in, or it could be a specific community, environment on a global scale and so on and so forth. So absolutely, there are several areas where non-profits and for-profits align together. Okay? So in fact, I teach several courses in non-profit management and talk a little bit about the non-profit sector in the US as to how and why it is so big and so profound. I always tell my students, I teach graduate courses on how to raise money, how to manage risk, which is a direct outcome from the for-profit world. You see, in the non-profit world, a lot of management principles, practices, eventually trickle from for-profit businesses. What you invented 20 years ago, strategic marketing, strategic planning, right? And including risk management. It takes about 20 years for those concepts, practices, and principles to trickle down to the non-profit world, right? Like I said, I tell my students, non-profit doesn't mean go broke. In fact, non-profits need to bring constantly more money in order to serve the people, in order to protect Mother Earth, on and on. Non-profits are the forefront of social development, economic development. IBM is a non-profit. All chambers of commerce are non-profits, okay, on a global scale and so on, so on, so forth. So that's the key point. Non-profit does not mean go broke. In fact, non-profit needs to bring more money. The only difference is we don't call them profit in the non-profit world. We call them excess revenue over expenses. Pretty much the same, right? We give a twist to the word and so on and so on. But seriously, there are several areas that non-profits and for-profits can and should, in my opinion, work together. Right? Let me talk a little bit about the non-profit sector in the US. The non-profit sector in the USA is the largest and strongest on earth, period. We have 1.51 million non-profits currently operating in America. The non-profit sector in the US brings 2.85 trillion with a T, every year. That is more than the entire GDPs of 152 countries on earth. So that's not done simply. There is a very strong, we look at non-profit services from the business point of view, entrepreneurial point of view. There are several emerging trends. I'm a talking head, I keep talking, but I'm going to give some key points both from the non-profit sector side of the equation and also for-profit side of the equation, and how both can merge for both benefits and for social benefits, both for monetary benefit and for social benefit. I'm also going to do a little show and tell. This is a show. This is the best book in the market. Not just because I wrote it, maybe a little bit, but it took 4.5 years for me to figure out. I've been doing this for 25 years, right? First, I began my journey in the US. I began to teach nonprofit courses. Like I said, the level is completely different, right? The nonprofit sector accounts for about 5.5% of the entire GDP of the US. We're talking about $30+ trillion. 9.8% of American workforce working for nonprofit. That means 1 out of 10 Americans working for a nonprofit organization. Harvard University is a nonprofit. Stanford is a nonprofit. All churches are nonprofits by default. And so many medical facilities and so on. They are operated with billions and billions of dollars, right? And if they do not take that entrepreneurial angle, they cannot survive, let alone thrive. Like I said, nonprofit sector in the US is growing and growing and growing because we are infusing the business concepts, practices, best practices. All of them directly come from the for-profit business to sell the just cause, if you will. There was an excellent book by Katja Anderson. It's called Robin Hood Marketing Rules. Robin Hood stole from the rich and gave to the poor, right? And she's not telling to steal from the rich, but basically the end of the second topic of the book is how to steal corporate savvy to sell just causes. Basically, she's writing to nonprofit. She was actually a corporate executive. So she's telling about how nonprofits can steal the marketing mechanism and so on. So as we all know, the corporate mighty marketing machinery of corporate world can sell things that we need, sell things we don't need, that sell things we will never need. But how come nonprofits that sell important cause, touch life, change life every single day, how come they don't take that entrepreneur? That's what I infuse in this book. Many of the chapters, including risk management, fundraising, strategic planning, they have direct applications from the for-profit world, and also there are several possibilities for businesses to work with nonprofit. I'm going to highlight, I don't used to, normally my students use this, but I like to keep my 10 minutes. Shubha told me 10 minutes and then off you go. So here I go. There are the nonprofit sector in combination with the for-profit business sector is innovating. Not only in the US, of course, it was spearheaded in the US, and we see that across. I've trained more than 3,000 NGO leaders in 10 countries and counting. I've seen how they operate with shoestring budget, no budget at all. So all they need is this infusion of entrepreneurial skills and so on and so forth. Some of the emerging trends, we all heard about the term social enterprises. That's been around for 2-3 decades. So these are the organizations, yes, they are businesses, but they have the social outcome as well, right? My title of my book is Managing a Million Missions, Strategic Capacity Building for NGOs. As you know, all businesses around the world have one mission, which is
Making
money, more the better, right? But the difference is in the nonprofit world, millions and millions of mission purpose, right? Environmental protection, women empowerment, rural development, poverty, hunger, you name it, they do it, right? What governments fail to provide, what businesses are not much interested in providing, nonprofits take upon themselves and so on and so forth. So we see this trend on social enterprises, right? Young, dynamic, socially conscious young men and entrepreneurs, even, I don't mean by young just by age, in terms of ideas. They come up with how we can make profit at the same time help others, whether it's giving employment, right? For people who never had opportunities to grow and so on, so on, so on, so on. That's one trend that started a little bit ago. And then we talk about impact investment. Right? What is the social impact? Yes, we are investing money. We are business oriented. So that's the purpose. One mission, more money. But at the same time, let's make some impact on the environment. And climate change is a major threat. Right? We see how it is affecting us every year, more severe and so on, so on, so forth. Impact investment is all about how to combine both profit making and social impact, environmental impact, and so on, so on, so forth. And venture philanthropy, another term. So we have this all. So my appeal to you is whatever suits you, please embrace. You will make profit, no question about it. In the process, like I said, like Mr. Velu mentioned, not just money, community development, so on and so forth. And in the US, we go way out because innovation and people like me, we constantly turn things around and so on. There is a new entity called L3C. In 11 of the 50 states, and then DC, an entity can be registered as a L3C. It's called Low Profit Limited Liability Corporation. You all know about Limited Liability Corporation. This is a strange hybrid. It looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, but it's not exactly a duck. It's more like a platypus. So it's a hybrid. So there is a portion of it is non-profit. That's the portion of it is for-profit. So we are trying to still figure out there is some gray zone, meaning part of it they pay taxes and part of it they don't pay taxes. So a lot of new opportunities are coming out and so on and so forth. Jayapal asked me to talk about CSR. I've given consultant service to many corporations on how to corporate social responsibility. Now, this is not a mandate. It's not a legal requirement, but it's a moral requirement. It is an ethical requirement, especially for diasporic community. Right? It is our responsibility, your responsibility to give back to the community where you were born, where you were raised, and where you are now. There are two ways of looking at it, two ways. We all have our motherland and our homeland. Right? My motherland is Tamil. That's Tamil Nadu. That's not going to go away. My roots are there. But my homeland is US. I lived in Tamil Nadu for 31 years. I lived in the US 33 years. But still, all of us have homeland and motherland. So try to think about that. We owe to our homeland, motherland, right? At the same time, this community, this country gave us opportunities and so on. So, but I'd like you to think about that and balance well on both sides of the equation. Also consider working with nonprofits through new avenues such as cost marketing, cost merchandise marketing, which is huge in the US. This is a process by which a for-profit company partners with a non-profit corporation to sell a product. So in this process, the non-profit lends its name, hopefully good name, to a corporation which also has a good name to sell a product. For example, it started in 1980s, late 90s by American Express and then Yoplait yogurt. So this goes like this, you buy a tub of Yoplait yogurt, maybe 70, 80 cents, and 2 cents of it goes to American Cancer Foundation. This is a very successful model, right? So you are partnering with why, from the business point of view, there are multiple studies done about it, 60% marketing advantage. That means I go to a shop, I see 2 different yogurt brands, I gravitate towards the yogurt brand, same quality, same expense, same type and same price and everything. But by nature, we are all human beings, we are wired to care for one another, right? So I gravitate towards something that has a cost. My point is, I'm going to spend 60 cents for this anyway, so I'd rather buy one where 3 cents go to American Cancer Foundation. This is an excellent, successful model. So try to adopt these innovative models and so on and so forth. And I've captured many of these in the book. Buy the book, it's on Amazon. I got to make a plug out of it. By the way, Jay mentioned I can make it as an informal release of the book in UK. By the way, we released it last year, it was sold out, then week. So we transferred it to Amazon and so on and so forth. So that's pretty much a wrap because I think I already went way ahead of time. But I'd like to thank IBN, especially Jay. And when I came, I didn't know what to expect. And the first day I met with the dynamic team of Mr. Velu Singaram and Mr. Nagraj, and eventually, my goodness, I felt so connected and so on and so on and so forth. So in so many ways, yes, business, one mission, NGOs, multiple mission. When you combine both, when you combine forces together, both can thrive, the world need you. Right? So you can follow any of the models I highlighted, but please, if you can appeal, that's my appeal to you. Try to practice CSR. Nobody's going to come and twist your arms. It's not legal expectation, but it's a moral, ethical expectations to give back to both your motherland as well as your homeland. Thank you.